something that is underway in Florida. There is a state investigation there after a man was found unresponsive on a roller coaster at Universal Orlando. And we want to bring in Hannah McKenzie. She works at Fox Orlando. She's been following this story. And Hannah, this is very interesting. This is kind of what we know so far. Kevin Rodriguez Zavala, 32, was there visiting the park near Orlando on September 17th and was found unresponsive on the roller coaster after riding it. What other details have you learned so far?
Yeah, just a tragic story unfolding out of Epic Universe. So he was on one of the dual roller coasters. It's called Stardust Racers. He was found unresponsive, still strapped to his seat. Off-duty deputies responded to the scene for a call of a man down. I've spoken to several people who were in line next to step on that roller coaster. They saw Kevin Zavala right there, strapped in, receiving some sort of emergency medical care. We did hear of a doctor in the area who was just happened to be in line, sprang into action, and she jumped over some railing to try and attend to this poor man. But ultimately, he was taken to an area hospital where he was pronounced dead. Now, I did briefly actually get a chance to speak with his sister on the phone. She was crying. She was telling me that her brother was at Epic Universe on Wednesday night there with his girlfriend. They were just supposed to have a fun night out. It obviously was not supposed to end this way. Now, we also did get the preliminary report back from the medical examiner's office, and the medical examiner ruled that the cause of death was repeat blunt force trauma. And they also ruled that the manner of death in this case was accidental. So just a really tragic incident. We're still working to figure out the fine details of what exactly happened up there during the ride that caused Kevin Zavala to die. We do know that this roller coaster in particular, Stardust Racers, it's only been open for a few months because Epic Universe just opened at the end of May, but it has already had a couple of incidents that's been marked down. So there's a report out there by Theme Park Injuries, and just between the months of April through July of this year, they reported that 2 people have come forward saying they were feeling unwell after being on that ride. One was a 63-year-old man. He reported being dizzy. The other was a 47-year-old woman, and she reported having vision issues after getting off. It is important to note, though, both of those people had underlying pre-existing medical conditions that they knew about. So Stardust Racers itself, it's a pretty fast ride. It gets up to 62 miles per hour, according to Universal's site. The coaster itself is about 133 feet tall, and it has 500 feet of coaster track. So it's a pretty wild, it's got those moves, it's got those turns, and it does have some requirements like most roller coasters do when it comes to riders. You've got to be a certain height, a certain weight to make sure those restraints keep you where they should. All riders also need to have complete control over their torso and their necks as well. So that's important to know as this investigation moves forward. We've also reached out to Universal. They said that their thoughts and prayers are with the family as they navigate this unfortunate loss. I've spoken with the ride manufacturer as well. They are a German-based company called Mack Rides. They said this ongoing investigation, so they can't get too much into the details, but they too feel terrible for what's going on with this Zavala family right now.
Let me ask you this, just to paint the picture for people that are watching this, because we have our own theme parks here in Illinois. And in some cases with these roller coasters, I know I was on one not too long ago, there's a harness apparatus that comes over the head, and then you're like strapped in around really at the waist. It like straps right in, sort of like around the waist. Can you kind of walk through, I don't know if you have this detail, but can you kind of walk through how you're strapped into this particular roller coaster?
It's similar to exactly what you're describing. The key point, there is some sort of a little bit of shoulder restraint as well, but the key point of restraint, like you just mentioned, is across the waist, that lap band, that kind of, it's not a band, but that's a bar that goes across. This one does also have some sort of restraints around the shoulder as well, but the most spot where you're getting the restraint from, the jerking and the moving around would be across the waist area. And I guess that's why one of the requirements to be able to ride the ride safely is that you can control your upper torso and neck, because they know it's going to be a ride that you are going to be jolted around on.
And if I'm not mistaken, the Orange County Medical Examiner came out, I think you said this, and said multiple blunt impact injuries are the cause of death. Can you walk through maybe kind of what you know about that portion of this?
So basically, I mean, obviously, that lingo is somewhat medical in nature, but it basically means the person either sustained multiple blows from something or against something. So obviously, we don't want to speculate too much into those details, but you can make sense of those words in that way.
Any indication where is Stardust Racer right now? Is it shut down? Are investigators literally at it at this moment, kind of going through the mechanics of it?
We've had our chopper up over, we've had our drone up over. That ride is not moving. It hasn't moved since Wednesday night. They are still obviously investigating to see, what led up to Zavala's death. And I don't think it'll be, anytime soon that we see that coaster back on the tracks until they figure out exactly what went wrong and make some sort of changes. Or, this could be the end of this roller coaster after its short 4-month history. We don't know those details just yet.
Can you talk about exactly where this roller coaster is? This is a newer portion or a newer theme park, to my understanding. Is that correct?
That's exactly correct. So this is Universal's brand new theme park. This is a multi-billion-dollar investment. This is Epic Universe. It just opened at the end of May. I believe May 25th or May 27th was the opening day. So this coaster is very new. And like I said, already had those 2 other incidents being reported of people, being unwell after going onto it.
Let me ask you this, Hannah. There's so many theme parks there. How do you handle the influx of information that comes in about, I'm sure you get updates about theme parks all the time. How do you handle that information? And when was the last time something of this magnitude transpired?
You know what? The one that comes to mind to answer your previous question first, the one that comes to mind was that horrific incident that was at Icon Park. Like you said, we're here in Orlando, Central Florida. We have parks galore. There was one incident at Icon Park where a ride malfunctioned and a poor little boy lost his life on that ride as well. And that was several years back. I know that family had been in ongoing litigation until very recently, actually. All those documents were sealed, so I don't believe we actually found out the what happened and transpired at the end of all of it. But that was the biggest one. Obviously, we have little blips here and there. Like I told you, we had that most recent report from theme park injuries. They believe between the months of April and July of this year, 12 total injuries were reported at all of our parks in the area just for that time frame this year. 7 of which I believe were at Universal and 2 of which had to do with this specific ride that we are talking about.
Let me ask you this. When these kinds of incidents happen, you mentioned the 6-year-old little boy, does this then turn back to business as usual? Have you ever seen where one of these rides are permanently closed forever, or are they updated and then there's a statement that comes out and then people are back on it riding all over again?
I guess it depends on the severity of the accident and whether or not the investigation results show that the ride malfunctioned or perhaps the rider shouldn't have been on the ride and something was missed there as far as maybe park attendance permitting someone who maybe didn't, qualify with the requirements. So in the case of the young boy at Icon Park, it was a slingshot type of ride, and that ride was taken down, no longer in existence there.
In terms of Mr. Zavala, you said he was there with his girlfriend. Is there any indication that she, too, decided to get on this ride?
We believe that she was on the ride with Kevin Zavala at the time, yes. We have not spoken with her yet. The family, when I spoke with his sister, asked, for time to grieve as they try to navigate this situation. I mean, a traumatic, awful event.
It is absolutely awful, and absolutely awful for anybody that was on it to witness. What's the next phase of all of this? What happens next? Do you wait for that investigation to come back? Is that typically a long span of time?
I would suggest that this would probably be several weeks, if not months, before we see any sort of results come from this investigation, because this is something where, theme park officials are going to want to make sure every I is dotted, every T is crossed. They want everything buttoned up when they come out with these final results to find out what happened here.
I know you said the ride isn't moving. Is the park actually still open?
It is. Yeah, it is. It's business as usual at Epic Universe. I mean, I think maybe perhaps guests going in who have heard of it, probably a little bit somber or solemn around that area, because you can tell, it's not up and running. But, this is a huge theme park. It is massive. I mean, a lot of people here are just visiting and they don't watch, local news. I know this has made national news headlines now too, but some people don't even know about this. So yeah, it is unfortunately business as usual. Some people just unaware of this tragic incident.
I do want to point out that the president and owner of Premier Rides, you did say that you got a statement from them. They did put out a statement, and here's some of what it says. Mechanical and electrical failures end up being probably the smallest component of what can create an incident. So it sounds like they at least are at this point aren't leaning to perhaps it being on the ride itself. So we'll have to see how this investigation shakes out. Hannah McKenzie with Fox Orlando, we appreciate you joining us today. Thank you so much.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me.